So if you recap yesterday's session, yesterday we have seen AR invoice some negative scenarios, how to reprocess the data, how to find the errors, and how to see the report for import AR auto invoice, execution report. Then after we have seen, so how to find the web services and REST APIs and import journals web services. We have seen what is the endpoint URI and what are the associated operations we have. In that, one of the most important operation is import journals. So what it will do import journals? It will import the data into your interface table, which is JIR interface. Okay, to validate the data, and it will insert the data into your interface table. Now today we'll try to test the import journals web service with help of SOAP UI tool. So before that, yesterday I given assessment for supplier everyday process. Did anyone try? Anyone tried supplier everyday process at least for one sheet to create the supplier?
Yes, sir. Michelle.
Yeah, it's got succeeded, or you have facing issues?
Hi, sir. Yeah, supplier side in issue, sir. Supplier and supplier it is import.
Supplier created?
Yes, sir. Supplier created.
Okay, great. Just keep on trying. Let me know if you face any issues. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Other than Shinde, did anyone try to build a process? Any doubts? Hope everyone is clear on the everyday process. For the reprocess mechanism, for the new process, reprocess, purging the table concept and all. Hope everyone is good. Guys, you need to talk here. Just at least somewhat interaction. So the Sripad, Rajiv, Shika, Rashekar, Mama, Nikki.
Yeah, Vijay, FBDI is clear, yeah.
Clear, right? The reprocess wise everything, how to find entities and
yes.
all. Okay, then great. Okay, now this is our SOAP UI tool, SOAP UI 5.6.0 version. Whichever version the latest, just you can download and install the same for SOAP UI and Postman tool. SOAP UI tool, from this tool, you can test the both web service and REST APIs, but REST API is somewhat not user friendly. You can test it, no issues, but it's somewhat not user friendly. Whereas Postman tool is somewhat user friendly, especially when you are working with the REST APIs. Okay. So first we'll try to test the web services from using SOAP UI tool. Before that, try to connect the OER. Cloud applications. And this is the financials. Is administer. Get started with file-based data. Sorry, integrate and review SOAP web services. Expand the business object services. Here, this is the journal web service. This is my endpoint URL. Just copy my endpoint URL, whichever ends with WSDL, WSDL, that is we call as service WSDL endpoint URI or endpoint URL. Okay. Just copy here. Here we need to paste server name here. Copy and paste server name. So my server name, this is my Oracle application. This is my EBV test server name. Just copy server name. Just paste it. This is my endpoint URL for journal import service. Just copy the URL and try to paste browser. So not found.
Starting 3/3.
One more slash is there. So it should be, how can you find whether the WSDL is working or not is nothing but just try to enter the data in WSDL. It should be open the XML data. It should be populate the XML data for us. EBB test, yes.
Yesterday, when you went to the endpoint URL from the Oracle Fusion, there was some port also, 443 or something.
Yeah, that is no issue. Without 44344, it can be connected.
Okay.
And this is developer tab. Not sure why this is not pulling the data. Let's connect. This is journal and this is the wisdom. EEBV test finance, yes to finance, general ledger, entry, journal import service, wisdom. How come it's possible? You populate the data like this when you append your host name. It should be EEBV finance test finance es2.oracle.cloud.com.
Fin desktop entry, that is not there in this.
It's not mandatory because Oracle is straight away saying this is service digital URL.
Okay. Do we need to replace that FS?
The same service missing here. Sorry. Name. Should be over. This is your endpoint URL. By default, it will be work for your wisdom. Just you need to copy paste your host name, application host name. So before that, what is the role we need to add to the user in order to work with this web service and REST APIs? What is the role we need to add?
Integration specialist.
Integration specialist for finance and CRM, SCM track for HCM. Human resource capital management, integration specialist role. Okay, do remember. So this is my endpoint URI. Okay. Just copy the same. Just navigate to the SOAP tool. Just click on the SOAP, project name, something GP10 null. And this is my WSDL. Just you can provide the WSDL URL here. It will create an associated methods with the format of XSD. XSD is nothing but service data schema objects. Schema object can contain all your XML elements. So here, if you see, this is GP10 journal. I have two categories here: journal import service response binding and journal import service SOAP HTTP. Do not use the bindings category. Just you can ignore this. This is for internal reference purpose. When you send in a response, with the help of this binding, it will return the data. Just you can.
Vijay, can you go back once again? How did you come to this page? I missed it. Sorry.
Okay, just go to the SOAP here. There is a SOAP available right here. Just create a new SOAP. And journal 1. This is your endpoint URL. Okay. Just click on OK. By default, it will create an XSD files for us with associated methods. It's created methods followed by your categories. So see SOAP HTTP section. We need to refer this category. SOAP HTTP. Here you have get default object attribute ins and asynchronous. Get entity list asynchronous. Get service last update time with asynchronous. Import journals and import journals asynchronous. So why asynchronous methods? Again, repeating is nothing but when you are execute or when you send in a request to the server, it will return the response with help of these asynchronous calls. So we are not going to this asynchronous. We are going to use straight away the operation associated operations. The same associated operation you can see in your OER. Here I have 4 associate operation: import journals, get default object attribute hints, get service last update time, get entity list. Same here also you have the 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here, when you expand the import journals, just click on the import journals here. I have interface rows. In the interface rows, I have journal interface row header. This is called request payload. The same here, just expand the same here. It will create a sample request for us. Just double click on the request. It will create an input payload for us. This is called as a request payload. This is called in a request payload, which is a blank payload. Just copy the same. So here, this is complete a blank payload. You see here from OER, this is interface rows, journal interface header. Very first time we can see here. This is import journals method, same import journals method. I have the request payload interface rows. Same I have interface rows. In the interface rows, against interface rows, you have couple of attributes are available. Interface rows. This is starting node. This is ending node. We call this is a node. This is import journals node. Import journals node does have child node, interface rows node. Okay. Interface rows node does have couple of attributes are available here. Couple of attributes or elements. We call these are attributes or elements. Okay. So if you see here, this is interface rows. What does contain interface rows? Nothing but general interface header. Just click on the same. This is general interface row and attributes. Accounting date, accounting period name, batch description, batch name, error to suspense flag, and GL interface. Again, child node is available in this. Import descriptive flex field, ledger ID, summary flag, user category, user source. The same here you can find. Batch name, batch description, ledger ID, accounting period, accounting date, user source, user category, so on so flags and descriptive flex field, followed by one more child node, GL interface. Expand the child node. The same here also you can expand the child node, general interface. Again, you have a number of attributes for your child node. Same here also. This is GL interface node. GL interface node, you have actual GL interface table columns here. Your table structure columns you can see in the GL interface node. Complete whichever FBDI columns or whichever GL interface table columns are there, the complete columns you can see here. Okay, followed by flex fields and everything. Here you need to populate the data in order to push the data in order to insert the data into your interface table, which is GL interface. Now we'll try to prepare the data here. So already I have with me the data, which is I have populated data already. Just we'll see here how the data looks like. This is a batch name, batch description, ledger ID, accounting period name, accounting date, user source name, category, error to suspense flag, summary flag, and description. Descriptive flexi field is no, and followed by.
You didn't provide anything in this user source, right?
Yeah, you will get as the inputs from a file this information.
No, but category name was allocation, but source you didn't provide anything, so it will be.
Yeah, we'll see.
Coming by
We'll see
default.
we'll
Okay.
So this is GL interface node. So for each line, we need a debit and credit line, right? So the way here I have repeated, you can see 0 or more repetitions for this GL interface. You can repeat n number of times this node as per your requirement. In generally, for each line, we do have 2 lines. One is the debit line, one is the credit line. The reason I have repeated for 2 lines here. One is the debit line, one is the credit line. Only amounts could be changed, everything would be same. If you expand the first node here, GL interface, this is my reference columns. This is my ledger ID, period name, accounting date, user JE source, user category. This is a group ID, balance type, code combinations, currency code. For example, if you see here, code combinations, I have 3 for my chart of account, segment 1, 2, 3. If you see the empty payload here, Oracle is provided segment 1 to 30. So I need only 3 combinations. Simply can remove whichever is not required. Segment 1 to 3 keep the same, and rest of you can remove. The payload, whichever is not required, you can remove from the payload. This is we call as a request payload. Okay, and this currency code, enter credit amount, which is USD 100, and accounted credit is 100. This is reference 1, 2, 3 is nothing but batch description, batch line description, general entry line description, and so on. So this is real entry identifier not required, just you can remove the same. This is my ledger name. The same way, one more node for jail interface. Here we are populated credit amount. Here you need to populate the debit amount. Enter debit amount and accounted debits. This is only difference. The rest of data would be same. Okay.
And Vijay, a few mandatory fields are shown optional here, like the source name and the category name here.
Yeah, it will show as optional, but when you executing this, when you sending the request to server, it will throw an error, so on so column is missing. You need to populate.
Okay.
Okay. Oracle is not mentioned anywhere, which is a mandatory. By default, it will show as optional for all the fields. Just copy this payload, and this is repeat and journal, and this is my import journal, and this is my request, right? Just this is my request. Just copy paste the request, the complete input request here. In order to execute this request, there is authentication section is available here. Authentication, add new authorization. Just click on OK. Add your SaaS application username and password. Your SaaS application username and password in the real time, a dedicated OIC user will be created, especially for your integrations. You need to use the same user for this test. Okay. Just click on authentication. Again, it will close your authentication section. So once you provide authentication, there is in the left side, you can see the greater than symbol is available, which is green color highlighting. Submit request to the specified endpoint URL. Submit the request to the specified endpoint URL. Just try to submit the request. So here at the right side, you can observe it is executing, it is processing. If it will validate the data here itself, and if you throw an error, if you miss any mandatory columns, if you ignore any mandatory columns, it will throw an error. If it is invalid data as well, also it will throw an error. So here we got an error, GLADFDA invalid source. So here you must enter a valid source. Since we are ignored user source name here, just copy the source name from here, something AX variables. Especially for this journal import, not sure why Oracle is maintaining this header. This is not a useful. Simply we need to populate the data. That's it. But this is not useful for your further process. The most important is this is GL interface only in order to insert the data into your interface table. Okay. So we are populated user source. Just try to submit the request. So there is a result, import journal response. We got a response here. The response is nothing but something result is 0. When you get a result is 0 is nothing but this is got succeeded. Now this data in your interface table. Now this data in your interface table. If you verify your table, you can see this data. Okay. So for our testing purpose, we'll try to change the group ID, something 11898 22990, something group ID. And here also group ID. Just try to insert the data again. Now your data in your interface table, now we got an import journal response, which is a result, which is 0. The same here you can find the OER. So what is the response you will get for journal interface? This is your journal import and import journals. This is request payload, this is response payload. So response payload, Oracle is saying you will get a result, element name, you will get a result. The same here you are getting element name is result. That's it. Returns the interface run identifier, which is used to identify journals in the journal interface table. Now you can query the data from your GL interface table with the group ID so that you can easily identify the data. So when you are trying to test this scenario is nothing but your client is place the file in your FTP server, the same journal FTP journal file in your client FTP server with a bulk data. So in order to test the web service, in order to develop your integration, first you need to test the web service. If you are push the data through web service, first you need to test one of the transaction. Then after you can use this web service in your integration and provide the mappings from file to your GL web service. So that data will go to your interface table for all the records. Okay.
And Vijay, there is some URL in the response. So what is that actually?
Where is the URL? This is something namespaces you can ignore. These are called a namespaces. Internally, they will refer in order to return the response.
Okay.
Okay. So here, do remember one more step here. For example, the journal interface allocations, user category, I'm trying to remove some S value. Just try to test it. So it will accept the data. So wherever it's mandatory, it will try to validate your data. Wherever is optional, it will skip your validation. Do remember.
And Vijay, like it will validate the value as well, or it will just check it is
depends
mandatory.
on the validation levels by Oracle defined. For example, source it will validate.
Okay.
This is allocations, and you can remove AX payable, something spelling mistake. Just try to keep on run. So it is accepting at GL interface level, but when you add at a header level, it is accepting here. Okay, sorry. If it is null, then only it will validate your data.
Okay, actual values.
The actual value needs to be present in the payload. Payable, just remove the same and try to run the same. Now it is saying so and so value is missing. We failed to validate all rows in a transaction and EDF DI ER empty source cost. Something. You must specify a source. Okay. ID.
But Vijay, how we will know like exactly this one is the error because it is not
again depends on your before testing this web service you need to create a transaction from UI. The way 95% mandatory and optional fields. Rest of you can keep on the test, it will throw the errors and you need to populate the data.
Okay. But when we do the integration, if anything errored out, at that time, how do we debug?
Yeah, we'll see in the integrations.
Okay.
We do have an error mechanisms are available. Just we'll try to catch the errors if any errors are there. If the same error happens in your integration, you need to catch this error and report to the user. So on says missing. My group ID. So data model. Something is not connected. There is issue with some data model, it's not connecting. Anyway, you can see the data from in your interface table. Now you have data in your interface table. It's time to push the data to the base tables. So in the manual process, what we'll do to perform the same process, we'll try to submit the main import process, right? Which is import journals. The same way here also you need to submit the import journals with the help of the web service. Here also you need to submit the import journals with the same parameters with the help of the web service, so that your data will go to your base tables. Nothing but whichever import journals ESS job is there, the same ESS job we are trying to submit with the help of web service followed by the parameters. For that, there is a web service, ERP integration web service. This web service we are going to use frequently for all the scenarios in the real time. This is ERP integration service. ERP integration service. So here we do have couple of operations are there. Get ESS job status, submit ESS job request, submit job with output, and upload file to UCM. If you want to upload the file explicitly to the UCM, this is the operation. Download ESS job execution details and import bulk data and get ESS execution details, load and import data, and so on. So you have a couple of operations are there. In the real time, mostly we can use get ESS job status and submit ESS job request. These are two frequently we will use in the real time. Okay. Submit ESS job request is nothing but it will submit an ESS job through web service. So for that ESS job, we need to find the status, whether it is success or failure or warning. We will get the status by using get ESS job status. First, we'll try to use this pistol. This is my endpoint URL followed by pistol. And you can pen your domain name or post. And this is API tool. Click on the SOAP new GP10 ERP integration service. This is my endpoint URL. Just click on OK. It will create all the associated operations for us in the format of XSD schema. Okay. So this is the binding. This is your integration service SOAP HTTP. Here you can find all your methods. Get ESS job status and submit ESS job request and so on. Now before that, here in the journals, here I can see the request by default. So I want to test one more scenario. I want to test one more scenario with the different fields. Then here right click and clone the request. Just click on the clone request here. So it will create a copy of the same request one. This is copy of request one. This is the same as you can change the data and you can test one more scenario. The same way, rename. If you want to rename, you can rename so that you can save this WSDL in a future purpose. Whenever you require, just open this SOAP UI. Automatically, this endpoint URI would be open by default. No need to add every time SOAP project. right click and here select the import journal, right click, add a new request. If you want to add a new request, just click on OK. It will create one more request with a blank. If you want to clone, you can clone so that it will create a copy of prior request. Okay. Now this is your integration web service. So before that, we'll try to submit ESA job here so that we'll see some internal details. So if you want to submit any ESA job through web service, first you need to find your ESA job name and ESA job path details. So how will you find your ESA job name? Anyone has any idea? I want to find my ESA job details. What is the provision? Where you need to search your ESA jobs?
Can go to the definition of it.
Your manage enterprise scheduler. There you can find all your standard along with the custom ESA jobs. So select the financials. So here display name is import journals. So here I need name, not the display name. Always you need to focus on name. This is name and this is the path. The path. The path. Okay, and followed by the parameters. So what are those parameters? Nothing but try to get the parameter to submit your main import once here. Just go to the tools, schedule process, schedule new process. Import journals. Click on OK. Data access set, and so source variables. Group IDs. This is 22990, which we submitted from your SOAP UI. Select another group ID. Just try to submit the process. Now here we get the parameters here. Always you need to refer internal values, not the display purpose values. For a web service call, for an ESA job, always you need to get the values for internal parameter values, not the display purpose. So how will you get those internals? Nothing but for a testing purpose, you need to submit your main import process so that you will get your actual values here. Now select the main import process here. This is the parameters. This is parameter name. Very first section is display purpose. Now all parameter values, internal purpose. If you see data access set is argument 1. Here display purpose, they are referring XXC test vs primary ledger, but internal purpose, they are referring ledger ID, data access set ID. This is ledger name, ledger ID. This is no, this is N, no, N, and the group ID to the group ID, source AX payables to AX payables, you can use the same, no issues. Source you can use as it is, no issues. The rest of values you need to pass as a internal values. Now we need these arguments in order to submit your ESA job. So how many arguments we have? 6, right? Now here, this is your ERP integration web service. Submit ESA job request, expand the same and click on the request one. Here I need job package name. This is job package name and job definition name. General input launcher, this job definition name. The way like this, you need to get it from your manage enterprise scheduler task against your ESS job. Now 0 or more repetitions for your parameters. So I have 6 parameters. So the first parameter value is argument 1, which is data access set. Argument 2, AX payables. And parameter 3, ledger ID. And parameter 4, group ID, something our group ID 22990, which we have used in our SOAP UI. So the rest of is N and N, right? The rest of 3 argument 5, 6, 7 are N. So this is your ESS job request details. Simply we are submitting an ESS job through REST service, web service call. So it will return a response which is request ID for us, nothing but the process ID. Using that process ID, you can find the same request from schedule process screen. Okay. Now add authentication here. For each web service call, you need to add authentication. Okay. Now try to send the request. Now this is the we got a result here as a response payload, and this is my request ID. Something 4556566. Just refresh here. Something 4556566. Input generals got submitted. This is the parameters values. The same here. Data access set, ledger, and so on. So same information got populated here. Okay. Now this status got succeeded. This status got succeeded. Okay. I want to see the status from the web service call itself. This is my request ID. Copy the request ID. Same request ID you can find here, right? 4556566. And here submit ESS job request, get ESS job status. Here pass the request ID and add the authentication. And send the request so that you will get the status of your ESS job. For example, your ESS job running is 5 minutes. As of now, it is succeeded. If it is running 5 minutes, in a 5 minutes, you will get the status is always running. So in an integration, in a loop, we are verifying this get ESS job status in a loop. In a loop, we are verifying the status until the status is succeeded, error, or warning. If any one status is succeeded, warning, and error, it will terminate the while loop and will out of the loop and will verify the status. If it is succeeded, then we can know that the process is successfully completed. If it is warning, there are errors are there. If it is error, there are errors are there. So the way we will verify in our integrations. Now, I want to see the log details here for the same request ID. Copy the request ID. Here there is a download execution details are available. Download ESS job execution details. This is request ID and something log type, log file type here, attachment type here, something log. We'll see whether the log is working or not. So you are getting content type is zip. This is something your attachment. Here there is a file attached to this message. When you get any attachments like this is file name, something 455656. So if you want to see this file, just navigate to the content server here. This file name and search here. It's not searching the data. State ginterface.zip. Just click on the same. It's not giving the data. Any no problem. Here in the attachment section, you can see the attachment here. If you get any attachments here, in the attachment section, you can get the attachments here. So you can download the attachment. There's a way to copy this attachment. So here there is a export the selected attachment your file. Just click on the same. Just click on the new folder. Just click on the save. So this is zip folder can be downloaded to your local machine. Just show the folder. This is the log file. You will get a log file here like this. This is a complete of a log file. Okay. The way you can download your execution details, nothing but your complete log file in a format of zip. This is download ESS job execution details. And one more thing, get ESS execution details. Here, request ID. I need request, right? Get ESS. Request ID, job options. Let's add all. Result is getting. Okay. Just copy this result. Okay. This is get ESS job execution details here. You can see this is jobs, job name. This you will get in a format in the format of JSON. So this is output you will get for get ESS job execution details. You will get your complete associated ESS job names here, the complete. For example, load interface file for import, transfer file, and your load file to interface, import journal childs. When you submit, when you get your request ID for load interface file for import, automatically it will get all your child ESS job details here, followed by the job name, followed by the job path, followed by the request ID, followed with status. Sometimes users are expecting the complete ESS job details, statuses, and their request IDs. The moment you can use this operation or method in order to get the details. the way you can perform ESS job related operations by using this web service. Okay. So this is all about journal import web service and followed by ESS job ERP integration web service. The way you can work with all the web services. So any doubts, any clarifications here?
So Vijay, what happens in the real-time scenario here? You just
Yeah, the real time as of now, we mapped for only one record, right? For jail interface.
Yes.
As of now, we are tested whether the service is working or not as per our requirements. Okay, just we are tested. Just we are taking one of the transaction from your flat file, and we are trying to test the same from SOAP UI tool. Nothing but whether this web service call is working or not as expected. Once it is successfully working, now you can use the same web service in integration. It will create the same empty payload in your integration. And you can provide the mappings from file to your web service in a for loop. So that it will try to create all the transaction record by record.
We will be seeing such one example.
Yeah, we'll see. We have voice sessions, right?
Okay. Okay.
We'll see. We'll work on the same interface web service. The same web service will work on our integrations.
Okay.
We'll see the web service approach. We'll see FBD approach. The both approaches we'll see. Okay.
Vijay, can you share that username and passwords so we can?
You have your demo instances, right? Yes, you can work on the same.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I will place this payload in your drive. Just you can change the values as per your application. Okay. Here OIC, where I have a couple of information is payload. Just you can refer the same. Okay, it's there now.
And Vijay, yesterday you mentioned about downloading that or registering for that demo. Is that credential used here? Or?
No, that is especially we are going to use for DBCS, Database Cloud Service. Same as Toad. Here we are connecting to Toad, right?
Yes.
To the client database. The same way, to create the custom components, we need the Database Cloud Service.
Oh, okay.
We will get from that trail account in order to create the custom components. Again, the database itself in the cloud.
Okay.
Okay. So this is all about web services. Still anyone has any question on the web service? Hope everyone is clear how to find the web service, how to find the methods, and how to create the data, how to test the transaction, how to invoke the web service, how to get the attachments, and the ERP integration web service related nothing but ESS job operations. Hope everyone is clear. Sripal?
Yeah, Vijay, it's clear.
Clear, right? Okay.
Yes.
Now we'll move on to the REST APIs.
And Vijay, are there any other tools other than these two that we can expect?
Other than two, we do not have anything. Only these two.
Okay.
Financials and this integrate and this is REST APIs. So what is the difference between REST API and web service? So every time, all the way, web service in the format of XML. All the web services input format is nothing but an XML. This is a XML format. But your REST APIs can support multiple formats: XML, JSON, text, and followed by some others. Mostly XML and JSON. JSON is a powerful input language which can understand all the source systems. Okay, and it's very easy to consume this JSON input strings. Input payload, which is when you compare with XML to JSON, JSON is very easy language in order to understand or transmit the data between source systems. So whichever you are able to see, this is the JSON format here. This is JSON format followed with the curly brace, and this is element name and this is element value. This is element name, element value, element name, element value, element name, element value. Just go to the go through the YouTube. Just go to some of the videos for the JSON so that you will get clear understanding of the JSON side. So what is the JSON? JSON also same kind of XML input strings in order to exchange the data between legacy systems to your Oracle system. Your voice will understand these two languages, which is XML and JSON input formats. So almost for all the REST APIs, we will try to test in the format of JSON language, JSON input format. So before testing our REST APIs does have 4 methods by default: post, patch, delete, and get. Post is nothing but if you want to insert the data in your tables. This is for insert purpose. Patch is nothing but if you want to update the data. This is update. Delete if you want to delete the data. Get nothing but search or find. Search or find. If you want to find the data or if you want to search the data, you can use the get method. Okay. So along with this, when you use the post method, for every REST API call, you have a method followed by the status. When you invoke a REST API call with a post status with some input attributes, let's assume these are my input attributes. Let's assume these are my input attributes. I am trying to invoke with the post method. Then it will return a status for us. If it is success or failure, it will return a status for us. Based on the status, we can confirm the transaction is successfully completed. Okay. The status could be for the post, it will return 201 created. When you invoke this input attributes with the post method, we will get a status 201 created followed by this response. As of now, we are getting for journal import or get ESI job operations, we will get some responses, right? The same way here also we will get responses followed by the statuses. 201 created for the post, the patch 200 okay, delete 200 okay, and get 200 okay. Nothing but these are successful calls. Other than this, you will get 401 not found. Something URI mistake, endpoint URI mistake, something your JSON format syntax issue. Then you may get 401 not found, or whichever you are provided your host or domain in the URI. If it is not working as expected, you will get 500 internal server. In your REST API call, we are trying to add our host name, right? If the host is not available, you may get error 500 internal server. If something issue with your syntax issues, you may get 401 not found. Other than you can see these statuses followed by the methods and your input format in the format of JSON. So here we'll try to see a couple of, first we'll see the get operations. So here also you can find the same web service as a REST API, ERP integration, the same kind of get all job details, get all jobs, couple of. So here, if you take in a journal example, Oracle is providing journal batches REST endpoints. Here delete a batch, get all the batches, update a batch. But there is no option to create a batch. There is no option to create a journal. So indirectly, there is no REST API to create the journals. Only you can perform these operations against your journals. If you want to delete a journal batch, the method is delete, and this is your endpoint URI, followed by JE batch ID parameter. Curly brace, if you see any data here, nothing but this is a parameter representation. This is your endpoint URI. Copy this endpoint URI and append with added prefix of your domain name. This is my domain name. This is my domain name. Now you can use this as a endpoint URI followed by this batch ID. You can pass the batch ID. So how will you get a, first of all, how will you get a batch ID here is nothing but get a batch, get all the batches. So for get all the batches, this is my endpoint URI. Copy the endpoint URI. This is my Postman tool. Just click on the new here and add your endpoint URI here and followed by domain name. Just add the domain name here, and what the operation is Oracle recommends for this operation get all batches. It's a method is get. So use the get here. Get, post, patch, delete. Other than you can ignore. Now Oracle is recommends for this URI you can use get. This is get method, and there is an authorization section is available here. Again, for each REST API call, we need to add the authentication. Just in the LOV, you can select the basic authentication. Select the basic authentication. Add your SaaS application username and the password. Okay. Now send a request here. Just click on the send. So what is the expectation here? The output, it will try to get all the batches from your application. And now the status you can see as a 200 OK. Now the status you can see 200 OK followed by the response. Let's remove some syntax issue here, batches, and try to send. 404 not found. It's not a valid URI. For a get method, input attributes are not required for this. Always for a get method, input attributes are not required. The reason here bodies become empty. We are trying to get the data. We are trying to find the data. Just copy this response. This is JSON format. So here we are getting a couple of 25 records in a Postman for a testing purpose. You see, this is JE batch ID and your complete batch information here. This is complete nothing but your GLJE batches, each record details here we can see here. JE batch ID, appointing period name, and your batch name, status is posted, and so on and so on. And this is one more record. And this is one more record. Okay. So here I have the batch ID. I want to get a specific batch ID details. I don't want to get all the batch details like this. I want to get a specific batch details. For that, get a batch followed by the same URI followed by JE batch ID parameter. You need to pass the parameter here. The same here, just add the parameter. JE batch ID, just try to send a request. This is specific batch ID request here. This is my batch ID. Only a single batch followed by the parameter. And here you can see a couple of hyperlinks are available here. Here nothing but the batch dependency information you can find here. This is relationship self canonical. You can ignore. Always you can ignore self and canonical relationship. You can focus on the rest of the relationship, child and all the childs. Nothing but this is a batch attachment. This is journal action logs, journal batch DFF, journal errors, journal headers. If you want to see these information, against our batch, okay, just navigate to here. I want to see the journal header for this batch. Just click on this URL, child URL, and add authentication, basic authentication. It will inherit from your prior request automatically these authentication details and try to send a request. So there is no header for this batch. There is no header for this batch. If you have any details, you will see the data here. As of now, it is saying count is 0. This is your journal header followed by journal header ID. By default, it will take from the child. Okay. So this is all about get method. Tomorrow we'll see the rest of methods. Okay. That's it for today.